The workshop had finally ended. After hours of presentations, discussions, and activities, Emma and Rianne were heading home. The day had gone surprisingly well. Emma had spoken to new people, answered questions, participated in conversations she normally would have avoided. For once, she wasn't replaying every sentence in her head. She was actually feeling proud of herself.
So, how would you rate today's workshop?
Emma laughed.
Better than I expected.
That's not saying much. You expected disaster.
Fair point.
Rianne grinned. Emma rolled her eyes. For a moment, everything felt normal, easy, comfortable. The train station ahead was crowded with people returning home from work. Announcements echoed from overhead speakers. Passengers hurried toward platforms. Some carried briefcases. Others dragged suitcases behind them. The station was busy, but not unusually busy. Emma followed Rianne through the entrance. Then something strange happened. A feeling, small, almost impossible to notice. Emma slowed slightly. At first, she ignored it. Maybe she was tired. The workshop had lasted all day. Anyone would feel exhausted. Emma continued walking, but a few seconds later, the feeling returned. Stronger. Emma frowned.
That's strange.
She adjusted her bag and looked around. Nothing seemed wrong. People were talking. Trains were arriving. Employees were making announcements. Everything appeared completely normal. Yet somehow, it didn't feel normal. Emma had felt nervous before presentations, before interviews, before difficult conversations. But this felt different. She couldn't explain why.
Maybe I just need some water.
She tried taking a slow breath, then another. Neither helped. Instead, she suddenly became aware of her heartbeat. Fast. Very fast. Emma stopped walking for a second. A strange thought entered her mind. What if something is wrong? She immediately pushed the thought away. No, she was overthinking. She always overthought things. But as they moved deeper into the crowd, the noise around her seemed louder. The station felt more crowded, more overwhelming. Her hands felt slightly shaky. Her chest felt tight. And for the first time all day, Emma felt afraid. Rianne noticed immediately.
Emma.
She looked at him. His expression changed. The smile disappeared. Concern replaced it.
Are you okay?
Emma opened her mouth, then paused, because she didn't know the answer.
I don't know.
She took another breath. It didn't help. The uneasy feeling continued growing. Faster, stronger, closer.
Rianne, something is wrong.
And standing in the middle of a crowded train station, surrounded by hundreds of people, Emma suddenly wondered if she was about to collapse. For a few seconds, neither of them moved. The crowd continued flowing around them. Passengers hurried toward their platforms. Announcements echoed through the station. A train arrived. Its doors opened. People stepped off. Others rushed inside. Life continued exactly as it had a moment ago. But Emma no longer felt the same.
Emma? What's going on?
Emma wished she knew. She pressed a hand lightly against her chest. Her heartbeat felt unusually fast. Not painful, just impossible to ignore.
I don't know. I suddenly feel strange.
Strange how?
That's the problem. I can't explain it.
She looked around the station again. Everything seemed normal. The lights, the people, the sounds, nothing had changed. Yet somehow, everything felt different.
Maybe I'm just tired.
After today, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, maybe that's all it is.
She wanted to believe that, but the uncomfortable feeling remained. In fact, it seemed to be growing. Little by little, Emma became aware of every sound around her. The announcements, the conversations, the footsteps. Everything seemed louder than before. A group of passengers walked past them. One person accidentally brushed against Emma's shoulder. She flinched immediately. Rianne noticed.
Hey, look at me.
Emma turned toward him.
Let's sit down for a minute.
No, I'm okay.
The answer came too quickly. Even Emma knew it wasn't true. Because she wasn't okay. Not really.
You don't look okay.
I know.
For a moment, neither of them spoke. Emma stared at the floor, trying to understand what was happening, trying to make sense of a feeling she couldn't explain. Then she spoke quietly.
I've never felt like this before.
The words surprised her. Emma had been nervous before presentations, before interviews, before difficult conversations. But this felt different. This felt bigger. And for the first time that evening, she felt genuinely scared.
Okay, let's get away from the crowd.
This time, Emma didn't argue. They moved toward a quieter area near the wall, farther away from the busiest part of the station. Emma took a slow breath, then another. For a moment, she hoped the feeling would disappear. It didn't. She looked down at her hands. They were shaking slightly. Only a little, but enough to notice.
Rianne, I don't think this is getting better.
Rianne's expression grew more serious. Until now, he had assumed Emma was exhausted, maybe stressed, maybe overwhelmed from the workshop. But now he wasn't so sure.
Do you want me to call someone?
No, not yet.
Emma looked around the station once more. The crowd seemed larger. The noise seemed louder. The distance to the platform suddenly felt longer. Everything felt overwhelming.
This is starting to scare me.
Emma had spent years worrying about embarrassing herself in public. Usually those fears stayed inside her imagination. Tonight, they suddenly felt real. A frightening thought appeared in her mind. What if everyone notices? What if I lose control? What if this gets worse?
Rianne,
Yeah?
what if I can't stop this?
The moment the thought entered her mind, her heart seemed to beat even faster. And Emma realized something terrifying. Whatever was happening, it wasn't going away.
Whatever was happening, it wasn't going away. Emma wished it would. She wished she could simply take a deep breath and feel normal again. But every passing second seemed to make things worse. The station felt louder, brighter, more crowded, more overwhelming. Emma stared at the floor, trying to calm herself, trying to think clearly, trying to convince herself that everything was fine. It didn't work.
Emma, talk to me. What are you feeling?
I don't know.
Her voice sounded shaky, uncertain.
My heart won't slow down.
Okay. Anything else?
Everything feels wrong.
Rianne sat beside her, remaining calm, trying not to make the situation worse.
You're safe. Let's just take this one step at a time.
Emma nodded, but his words struggled to reach her, because her attention was trapped inside her own thoughts, and those thoughts were becoming louder. What if something is seriously wrong? What if I faint? What if I pass out in front of everyone? What if nobody knows how to help? Emma swallowed. The questions kept coming, one after another, faster and faster.
I think something is wrong.
We don't know that.
Then why do I feel like this?
The question hung in the air. Neither of them had an answer. Emma looked toward the platform. People continued moving normally, talking, laughing, checking their phones. Nobody seemed worried. Only her. That made the feeling even worse.
Everyone else is fine. Why am I the only one feeling this way?
You're not the only person who's ever felt overwhelmed.
This doesn't feel like being overwhelmed.
Her breathing became faster, not dramatically, just enough to notice. Emma tried slowing it down, but the harder she tried, the more aware of it she became.
I can't calm down.
You don't have to force it.
I'm trying.
Emma glanced around the station. A man stood nearby drinking coffee. A family waited beside a ticket machine. A teenager scrolled through her phone. Nobody was paying attention to Emma, yet she felt exposed, as if everyone could somehow see her fear.
What if people are staring at me?
Nobody is staring at you.
How do you know?
Because they're busy living their own lives.
Emma wanted to believe him, but fear wasn't listening to logic. Fear was creating its own story, and that story was convincing. Her hands shook again, a little more this time. Her chest felt tighter. The station suddenly felt too small.
I need to get out of here.
Okay, we can leave if you want.
No, wait. I don't know.
Even simple decisions suddenly felt difficult. Leave? Stay? Sit? Walk? Nothing seemed right.
I don't know what's happening to me.
The confession finally escaped her lips, and hearing the words out loud made the situation feel even more real. Emma felt trapped, not by the station, not by the crowd, but by her own thoughts.
Emma, look at me.
She did. Rianne's expression remained calm, steady, grounded, the complete opposite of what she felt inside.
We're going to figure this out, okay?
Emma wanted to believe him. She really did. But at that moment, a terrifying possibility entered her mind.
What if this is only the beginning?
And the moment that thought appeared, the panic grew stronger. What if I completely lose control? The thought echoed through Emma's mind, again and again and again. The more she tried to push it away, the stronger it became. Her chest felt tight, her hands trembled. The station seemed to spin with movement. People walked past. Announcements echoed overhead. A train arrived somewhere in the distance. Everything felt too loud, too fast, too much. Emma lowered her head.
I can't do this.
Her voice was barely above a whisper. Rianne heard it immediately.
Hey, look at me.
Emma didn't respond.
Emma, look at me.
Slowly, she lifted her eyes. Rianne's expression remained calm, steady, patient, completely different from the chaos she felt inside.
You're safe.
Emma wanted to believe him, but fear still filled her mind.
It doesn't feel safe.
I know.
He didn't argue. He didn't tell her she was being dramatic. He didn't tell her to just relax. Instead, he listened, and that made a difference.
Tell me what's happening.
My heart won't slow down. I can't think clearly. I feel trapped.
The words came out faster now, as if she had been holding them inside.
What if I pass out? What if something is seriously wrong? What if…
Emma,
She stopped talking.
right now I need you to focus on me. Not on the crowd, not on your thoughts. Just me.
Emma nodded slightly.
Can you do that?
I'll try.
Good. That's enough.
For the first time in several minutes, Emma felt a tiny sense of relief. Not because the fear had disappeared, but because she no longer felt completely alone.
Take a slow breath.
Emma inhaled. The breath felt shaky, uneven, but she did it.
Good. Now another one.
She followed his instructions. Not perfectly, but better than before.
That's it. One step at a time.
The words were simple, Yet somehow they felt important. One step at a time. Not tomorrow, not next week, not the rest of her life. Just this moment.
Tell me 5 things you can see.
Emma blinked.
What?
5 things you can see.
At first, the request seemed strange, but Emma tried anyway.
The ticket machine, the clock, that coffee shop, the train schedule, and your backpack.
Rianne smiled.
Good. Now 4 things you can hear.
Emma listened carefully, not to her thoughts, not to her heartbeat, to the world around her.
People talking, the announcements, a train, and footsteps.
Perfect.
Something unexpected happened. The station began feeling a little more real, and her fears felt a little less powerful. Not gone, just smaller.
Stay with the present moment.
I'm trying.
That's all you need to do.
A few moments passed. For the first time all evening, Emma noticed a change. Her breathing wasn't perfect, but it wasn't getting worse. Her hands still trembled, but less than before. The panic was no longer growing. Emma looked at Rianne.
Why are you so calm?
Rianne laughed softly.
Because one of us has to be.
For the first time since entering the station, Emma smiled. Only a little. But it was enough.
You're doing better than you think.
It doesn't feel that way.
That's because fear is loud. It likes to convince you that you're losing.
Emma thought about those words. Fear is loud. Maybe that was true. Maybe the fear wasn't reality. Maybe it was just fear.
I'm right here, okay? You're not facing this alone.
Emma took another slow breath, then another. The panic hadn't disappeared, but something important had changed. For the first time that evening, she believed she might get through it. For the first time that evening, Emma felt a small sense of relief. Not complete relief, not comfort, but progress. Her breathing was steadier than before. Her hands no longer trembled as much. The overwhelming wave of panic was beginning to fade, little by little. Emma took another slow breath, then another. This time, the air didn't feel quite as heavy. Rianne noticed.
You're doing better.
Maybe.
She wasn't fully convinced. The fear was no longer as powerful as before, but it hadn't disappeared. It had simply changed. Emma looked around the station. People continued moving in every direction. Some hurried toward their trains, others searched for platforms. A few stood quietly scrolling through their phones. The station looked exactly the same. Yet now, a different thought entered her mind.
Rianne,
Yeah?
what if people saw me?
Rianne frowned slightly.
What do you mean?
What if they noticed?
Emma looked toward the crowd again.
What if they saw me panicking? What if they thought I was weird? What if they were staring at me?
The questions came quietly, but the embarrassment behind them was real. Emma had always worried about what other people thought. At work, at meetings, during conversations, even while ordering coffee. She hated making mistakes in front of others, and tonight felt like the biggest mistake of all.
Emma, look around.
She did. Rianne pointed toward a businessman standing near a platform. What's he doing?
Checking his phone?
Exactly.
Then he pointed toward a student wearing headphones.
And her?
Listening to music.
A family stood nearby studying a train schedule. Rianne pointed again.
What about them?
They're looking for their train.
Rianne smiled.
Notice something?
What?
Nobody is paying attention to you.
Emma looked around once more. The businessman never looked up. The student remained focused on her music. The family continued discussing train times. Nobody seemed interested in Emma. Nobody seemed concerned. Nobody seemed to be watching. For a moment, Emma didn't know how to respond, because deep down, she realized he was right.
It felt like everyone was staring.
That's because fear makes everything feel bigger.
Emma thought about that. Fear makes everything feel bigger. The crowd, the noise, the problem, even other people's opinions.
Most people are focused on their own lives, their own problems, their own schedules.
Emma watched the crowd again. This time she saw something different. Not a group of people judging her, just ordinary people trying to get home, just like she was. Emma laughed softly.
I spent the last 20 minutes worrying about strangers.
And those strangers were probably worrying about their own stuff.
Emma smiled, a genuine smile this time, the first real one since arriving at the station.
I guess I wasn't fighting the crowd.
No?
I was fighting my own thoughts.
The realization settled quietly inside her. The crowd had never trapped her. The station had never trapped her. Even the noise wasn't the real problem. The real battle had been happening inside her mind. And now, for the first time that evening, she could see it clearly.
That's a pretty important thing to realize.
Yeah, I think it is.
For the first time that evening, Emma stopped fighting the crowd and started understanding herself. For the first time that evening, Emma stopped fighting the crowd and started understanding herself. For a few moments, neither of them spoke. The station continued moving around them. Announcements echoed overhead. Passengers hurried toward their trains. The evening carried on as if nothing had happened. But for Emma, something had changed. Not around her, inside her. She sat quietly beside Rianne, listening, observing, breathing. The crowd no longer felt threatening. The noise no longer felt unbearable. Even her heartbeat felt closer to normal. For the first time in nearly an hour, she felt like herself again.
I think it's finally passing.
Rianne smiled. Good. Emma leaned back against the bench. Relief washed over her, not because the experience had been easy, but because it was ending.
Honestly, that was terrifying.
I know.
No, I mean really terrifying.
She shook her head, still trying to process everything.
At one point, I honestly thought I was losing control.
The words hung in the air. Rianne nodded.
But you didn't.
It felt like I did.
Feeling something and reality aren't always the same thing.
Emma thought about that. The fear had felt real. The panic had felt real. But many of the things she feared had never happened. Nobody judged her. Nobody stared. Nobody laughed. Most people hadn't even noticed. Emma laughed softly.
I spent so much energy fighting things that weren't actually happening.
Fear is good at that. Emma smiled. This time, the smile came easily.
Thanks for staying with me.
Of course. Where else was I going to be? Emma laughed again. A real laugh. The kind that only appears after a difficult moment has passed.
Seriously, thank you. I don't think I could have handled that alone.
Maybe. Maybe not. But you didn't have to.
Emma looked down for a moment. Those words stayed with her. You didn't have to. How many times had she struggled silently? How many times had she convinced herself she needed to solve everything alone? Too many.
I think that's what I learned tonight.
What's that?
I don't have to handle everything by myself.
Rianne nodded. That's a pretty good lesson.
Yeah, maybe the best one.
Their train finally appeared on the platform. The doors opened. Passengers began boarding. Emma stood, not perfectly confident, not completely fearless, but stronger than she had been earlier that evening. Emma picked up her bag and smiled.
You know, I'm stronger than I thought.
Rianne smiled. I was waiting for you to figure that out. Together they stepped onto the train, and for the first time that evening, Emma wasn't thinking about fear. She was thinking about what she had learned from it. The next morning, Emma arrived at work, feeling different. Not because the memory of the train station had disappeared. It hadn't. She still remembered the fear, the racing thoughts, the feeling of losing control. But she also remembered something else. She had made it through. Later that day, Emma found Dr. Miller in his office. He noticed her thoughtful expression immediately.
You look like you've been thinking about something.
Emma smiled.
That's because I have.
Emma told him everything. The crowded station, the panic, the fear, and how Rian had helped her through it. When she finished, Dr. Miller nodded thoughtfully.
And what did you learn?
Emma paused.
That fear can make small things seem much bigger than they really are.
Dr. Miller smiled.
That's true.
He leaned back in his chair.
But I think you learned something even more important.
What's that?
Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite fear.
Emma thought about those words. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she smiled, because she finally understood.
You faced something difficult yesterday, and you got through it. That's courage.
Emma looked out the office window. The fear hadn't defined her. The panic hadn't defeated her. If anything, the experience had made her stronger. And sometimes, that's exactly what courage looks like.